rise for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Welcome to the July 10th public session of the Board of Trustees. We're going to start this out with the Employee of the Month, and this month we recognize Greg Keglian, who's a village court officer and also one of our seasonal police officers. And the chief is here right now, but I'll read what the chief wrote. Court officer Greg Keglian has been in the village for 7 years as a court officer and a part-time police officer. During his tenure, Greg has been a great asset to the village justice court, the police department, and the village. On the days when court is in session, Greg will interact with as many as 200 people, is responsible for keeping order when court is in session and ensuring safety and security of the judge and other court employees, as well as the public. Greg goes about those duties with cheerfulness and professionalism. As a part-time police officer, Greg's specialty is foot patrol in the business district. Officer Keglian is an embodiment of what a village police officer should be. Greg has formed great relationships with many of the business owners and residents in the village business district and is a great representative of the police department in the village to many people he interacts with while on patrol. Thank you for recognizing Officer Greg Keglian's efforts on behalf of the village with this award. And I tell you, he's just a small town police officer, and he walks around and talks to kids, and he's fantastic. So he enjoys his job, and we're lucky to have him. And so congratulations, Greg. Public comment. Nobody signed up for public comment. Would somebody like to make a comment and didn't sign up?
Actually, I do have.
Yes, come on up.
My name is Jay Deasing. I'm a resident of the village at 109 Old Town Crossing, and actually just received a packet of information from a resident here in the village who is a little concerned about an application that's come through the ARB up on Meadow Lane. And unfortunately, I think sometimes people are busy. They don't realize that something's coming up, and in the historic district, obviously we all know the house that's being torn down up there at 40 Meadow Lane, and so she did some work actually that I just thought you ought to at least have a little bit of a heads up on, because it does show some comparative drawings that were not available to the board when they made their decision, and it's actually going to be a pretty significant change to the neighborhood up there. And I think on Monday night they are going to request the board to reopen the application. And I know there's been a lot of conversation about the ARB recently with the Hill Street application. We appreciate the opportunity to work with Paul Travis and the Planning Commission to try and make some refinements to the code. We'd love to see perhaps some broader community representation on some of the boards, and I know that's already starting to happen. But I think that there seems to be some recognition that we need to perhaps look at the scale and the amount of development that's going on. So I appreciate you looking at this, particularly with this application, which is in a pretty crucial area that everybody sees. It's really, aside from the Lake Agawam view, is probably one of the more iconic sections of the village along the ocean front. And it does look like from these drawings, it's a pretty significant change. So I'd love you to weigh in on this.
Can I just say something? I got this brochure delivered to me today on this very issue at 40 Meadow Lane, and I was going to bring it in. I want you, Mark, to read it. The people who prepared that really did a remarkably fine job of it, and I'm not in any position to judge the correctness of the attitude that they're taking towards it, but I really wish you would read it carefully and then give it to Rick, because I just see us getting tangled up in another expensive lawsuit here, and I must say, reading that, now that's one side of the story, of course, but I would be very alarmed about it, and I'm very aware of the location and so on, and I wish you would read it and talk it over with Rick as to whether or not we should make sure we don't get embroiled in something where we're wrong.
We'll have to talk about it. I mean, it's an application in front of the ARB, and I don't know if they voted on it yet.
I think they closed the public hearing at the last meeting with one. There was no additional meeting. It was one meeting, about a 5 to 10 minute discussion, and there wasn't any input from the public at that meeting.
Okay.
They make a statement in there that there were defects, so that there were things that should have been available at that meeting. The design of the house, there was no. You'll read it all in there, and it's laid out very beautifully. And I don't want to judge it. I just know
being submitted to the board.
This is being, I think, they can't submit right now because the file's closed.
That's all. Just be
So I
aware of
think
it.
what they've done is they've written a letter to the board to requesting that they reopen the application, because it was a relatively short conversation on the tape. It was about 5 to 7 minutes. There wasn't anybody from the public. I think some of the neighbors had tried to go to the meeting, but weren't able to get there. I don't think they envisioned that it would be approved or closed in a short period of time. And when you do look at it, it seems to me it's in the historic district. It is a 1 acre parcel, but it's not one of these 3 or 4 acre oceanfront parcels where you can do pretty much anything and then screen it or have it be isolated from the view. And so it certainly is worth looking at the material they've put together. Yeah. And I'm sure Bo will do that. But I think my point further to that is that, this is a board that's supposed to be looking out for the historic resources of the village. And quite frankly, when I look at this, I kind of say, how could you have closed the discussion with one meeting and 5 minutes of conversations?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer. You guys don't either.
I was not aware of the application. I haven't read this or anything like that. And they're an independent board, and if they choose to open that up, maybe they will. But I'm glad that you're bringing it to us to have us look at this. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. Yeah. Give you a heads up. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Anyone else from the public?
Evelyn Conrad, resident 18 South Roscoe Drive, Southampton. I see, to not enormous surprise, that you have reappointed Mr. Guidera, and I'm just wondering whether that is a reward for him having ignored 233 residents who signed petitions against the Robinson subdivisions, or whether it is a reward for a more recent matter, the failure to enforce the pyramid law. I wouldn't worry too much about that one. I think there were 47 signatures on that. But the gentleman who's most affected by it, the neighbor to the spec builder who sold the house for over $3 million, that was the hardship thing, the $100,000 it would have cost him to obey the pyramid law. Anyway, that gentleman appeared at the ARB, and in keeping with the tame and subdued tone of our residents, he actually apologized to Curtis Highsmith for being a thorn in their side. Can you imagine? It's very hard to make these folks aware of what your guys and you have been doing to this village. They see the results, but they don't put two and two together. And they're so hopelessly polite. I'm not. I brought, but that's sort of silly, the duties of the ARB board, but for heaven's sakes, your lips don't move when you read. You know what the duties are. Certainly, they do not mention the zoning code. Certainly, Curtis Highsmith does not have the responsibility to enforce the maximum of the zoning code. His duty is to preserve neighborhoods, to make sure that the new structure is in keeping. Do you want a copy of it, or do you think you all know it? Before you not censor and not ask for his resignation, maybe you should take a look at it again. This was done by Denise at the building department. Xeroxed it because she thought I had paid for enough copies of the construction code. You can have one too. I'm sure you know it, don't you? You don't know it? Let me get it.
No, I don't need one.
Oh, you don't need one? No, well, of course not. Nobody needs one because it's being violated every single time that the ARB meets. And let me ask you directly, since you had the incredible gall to reappoint Guidera, what are you doing about Highsmith breaking the law and breaking the duties that he has? You've seen the DVD, I'm sure, or have you not? Would you like me to get your copy? I paid for one. He actually said that everybody has an as of right to build a 5,000 square foot house anywhere. That's not what the duties of the ARB are, and you know it. You know it.
Well, that's an incorrect statement.
I beg your pardon?
That's an incorrect statement. Everybody
It's
does
certainly
that.
an incorrect statement, but he intimidated a resident of this village, and a lot of them with it. And that's what's happening, the intimidation. And if he fails, then Bo Robinson comes in and does his lawful thing, which of course isn't. And by the way, the guys on the ARB laughed because I made an offer, which I will repeat tonight. I would like you to know, I'll take one more minute. I would like you to know that I have 2 law degrees. The LLM is the equivalent of a master's, which I also happened to have before I was 21 from Stanford, okay? So it is not amusing. I have offered to help anyone in this village without a legal fee and give them the legal advice they're not getting from your 2 lawyers. They're getting sham. And to give them the documents, some of them I owe to some of your enablers, current enablers, but previous opponents. All the documents that substantiate their rights, which are being violated every day by your ZBA, by your ARB, by your planning board. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public would like to speak? Okay. Okay.
Which one of you?
Sorry. So my husband and I. I'm sorry, Brianna and Greg Hart at 224 Hill Street.
Okay. Yes.
And we would like to request some sort of limitation around parking on the south side of Hill Street. I think it's.
We're actually going to read the letter tonight
Oh,
that
okay.
your husband had sent, but please go ahead. Yeah.
Sure. Honestly, it's very simple. We just have a difficult time, I think, with all the church and Chabad parking on the south side of the street, pulling out of our driveway, and especially in the summertime, I think it's just become a little bit more noticeable because it's quite busy on the street. And so we think it's become much more dangerous for us to pull out of our parking lot, out of our driveway. So we wanted you all to consider some sort of restrictions around parking in front of some of the houses that are near the church in Chabad on the south side of Hill Street.
I know that we are going to have a parking meeting. We've been going through the village and looking at different areas, and over the last couple of years, actually, we're going to do another meeting not next week, the week after.
Early, the 21st. The 21st to 23rd.
The 21st and 23rd,
Okay.
somewhere in there, and to address that, because it becomes a code change is what that becomes.
Right.
How to do that, but I mean, I saw the pictures. I think everybody's seen the pictures. It's difficult to pull out of there, especially when the traffic coming in, and kids in the back seats and stuff like that. So yeah,
A little distracting.
yeah, and the bicyclers too. But we
Yes.
do have Rick's letter that
Okay.
we were going to read into the record tonight. We didn't know if you
Great.
were going to be able to make it here tonight or not.
Yeah, sorry,
so-
we're just dropping in.
That's okay. That's fine. That's fine. You're
I
always
brought my
welcome.
crew.
Hey, it's a good-looking crew you got there.
Supporters.
So I think that was all, but
So,
hopefully y'all have
okay.
the information, so thank you.
But, yeah, I mean, and the chief's here tonight also. But we have to, there's no line of sight coming out of the driveway, especially on Hill Street. That we have to figure out what we can do here
Okay.
that would work.
And so if you need us, or I think, maybe our two neighbors to the left and one to the right, I think we all feel somewhat similarly about the traffic. So if you
I
need
think
us to come to one of the parking meetings, and
well,
we're
I think
happy.
the pictures are pretty strong,
Okay,
strong visuals
Okay.
of lines and sight and stuff there. Okay.
thank you.
All right, great.
Appreciate
Thanks.
it.
You're welcome. Thanks. Anyone else from the public would like to speak? Okay, we're going to close public comment, board presentations, non-communications to the board. Actually, just read that letter while
Sure.
she's still here.
Absolutely.
First.
Thank you for speaking to me this week. As we discussed, I live at 224 Hill Street with my wife and our two sons, Griffin and Tucker. We are also expecting another son this September. We have owned our home for 4 years and are happily invested in both Southampton and Hill Street. We are writing you concerning a safety issue around street parking on Hill Street. We would like to have the town consider instituting a policy to limit parking a certain distance from driveways. Local parking for both the church and Chabad creates a traffic center for houses on the south side of Hill Street. Those cars parking in front of my house and in front of 232 Hill create what I believe is a very dangerous situation for us in exiting our driveway. As you will see in the attached picture, there is zero sight line into oncoming traffic on Hill Street. Considering the speed, heavy volume of cars, and proximity to an intersection across from Breeze Lane, we feel the lack of visibility is highly unsafe. In addition, there's a bike lane that runs along Hill Street, which is another concern of ours. We have no visibility to oncoming cyclists, a very dangerous situation. Therefore, we'd like to submit a request for limiting parking both during certain hours of the day that are heavily trafficked, as well as a certain distance from our driveway to maximize visibility. While we have been living with this for several years, we hope that the construction of the parking lot at the Chabad will have alleviated this problem, but unfortunately we find the issue remains. I am writing you now and asking the mayor and board to consider taking action to improve our situation. Thank you for your time, and please let me have any questions. Greg Hart.
Robin Hood.
All right, first one listed is Robin Hood. For the past few years, Robin Hood has had the pleasure of bringing our lemonade event to Southampton. Lemonade is an event designed to teach children about the importance of philanthropy by having them open their own lemonade stands. We'd like to continue the tradition this Labor Day weekend. I've attached our letter of approval from 2013 and seeking the same for this year. I'd also like to know if we are permitted to have stand activity in the green area north of Agawam Park between Hill Street and Job's Lane. Please let me know if you have any additional questions. We appreciate the opportunity to bring of our favorite events to such a great area.
I'd be hesitant to let them do that, just because I think of the trend it would set
Yeah, we
in
never
that
have.
area. But I think they've done it in front of
They're in
Village Hall.
They did a few weekends last year in August.
Yeah. So fortunately, I don't have the dates or anything on here, but with
Well, she's just looking for Labor Day this
Okay.
year.
So, all right, so I make a motion to authorize Robin Hood Lemonade event occur in front of Village Hall, on the steps of Village Hall, Labor Day weekend.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Second order from Chamber of Commerce. After much consideration, the board has unanimously approved hosting our 5th annual Drive-In Movie Mondays series at Cooper's Beach. We would like permission to utilize the beach parking lot on Mondays, August 4th through August 25th, with rain dates of the Tuesday following. The only exception would be Monday, August 18th, due to a conflict. That movie will be scheduled for Tuesday. We will continue our arrangement with Beth and Mark Westerhoff for the restroom access and concessions. We have been inundated with inquiries regarding our annual movies and would appreciate your response as soon as possible. Thanks again for your continuous support. Karen Conley.
Make a motion to authorize the Chamber to run the annual drive-in movies Mondays at Cooper's Beach in accordance with their letter dated July 8th, 2014.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
One is from Nina Beatty. I'm writing to express my gratitude for the exceptional service of the Southampton Police and Volunteer Fire Department they have shown me since my arrival as a full-time resident in the village 5 years ago. My latest positive experience occurred last week when all at once the alarms started going off in my house on Hill Street. I began to panic because I'd lost 40% of my hearing during chemo treatment this winter, so I couldn't make out what the detectives were trying to tell me. Was it get out, your house is on fire, or the more benign, replace old batteries? I couldn't hear well enough to know what they were saying, only that the sirens wouldn't stop. What to do? Find Village Fire Department in Yellow Pages. Dialed. Officer Mahoney, I believe her name was, arrived within 5 minutes and calmed me down, calling in help from the local fire department to come with their CO2 meter reader. The 2 fire guys arrived a few minutes later, so polite, so non-judgmental, which I very much appreciated. Apparently there was no CO2 problem. The alarm voice just said she wanted her batteries changed. They then showed me how to reinsert the new AA's, and after taking my name and number for their records, off the 3 of them went, my house now blissfully quiet. A funny moment happened just as they were leaving. I started to ask, how much do I owe you? But then I remembered they do this service for free. Well, free-ish, as I do pay my local taxes. So that's when it occurred to me that now would be the perfect time to write a check for the Southampton Volunteer Fire Department and note my appreciation for the police officers, too. A big thank you to all who's keep me safe out there. Nabidi, and she did enclose a $1,000 check.
Whoa,
Nice. Great.
her employee of the month.
All right, and the last one, which is it's not on here, but came in last minute, from the Eastville Community Historical Society. I'm writing in regards to the intended demolition of the home at 51 Pond Lane in the village of Southampton. I am one of many who have identified the connection of the Pirates Concert to this home in the 19th century. I was surprised, saddened, and disappointed to learn of the preservation plan that was arranged by the village of Southampton prior to demolition of the home at the meeting on June 12, 2014. It was at that meeting that I, and many others who were advocates for preservation of local history, learned of the arrangement with the firm Strata Baxter for preservation. You had mentioned that the firm would recover historic materials from the building before it was demolished. No provision had been made at that time for where the recovered historic materials would go. I am shocked that this is considered an adequate solution. Recovering historic materials before a house is demolished is not preservation, it is salvaged. And if no one knows where the recovered materials will go, then it's not a plan either. Furthermore, who is expected to make the decisions regarding what is historically significant? Does the firm have the education, experience, and credentials necessary to be able to identify important cultural symbols, patterning, and architectural changes associated with African American history and culture that may be subtle and deeply embedded within the structure? Most disappointingly, however, is that the village will allow the structure to be torn down without proper documentation. At the very least, an archival report should be made with the photographs inside and out before this house is demolished. This is certainly not the first historic structure to be knocked down in Southampton, so the village can certainly learn from the past. In 2004, the public spoke out against the demolition of the estate at Bayberry Land in Sebonic. Although this parcel is outside the limits of the village, the case is presented here as a comparison. The structure was fully recorded for HABS. In addition, the items within the home were photographed and recorded in the catalog for future auction. That is a preservation plan. The building at 51 Pond Lane is within the limits of the National Register listed historic district. Although it is not a contributing property, the building does contain historic features that should be recorded for posterity. Furthermore, this documentation should be done with special attention given to an historical African-American presence. In order to do this, a specialist in African-American symbols and cultural patterns should be considered. All of this is necessary to add to the memory and legacy of Southampton Village before the structure will be forever lost. Finally, a real plan should be made for any historical materials that are salvaged from the building. I recommend that the materials be donated to the African American Museum of the East End. I hope you take my recommendation seriously. I would be happy to assist Strata Baxter, too, to adequately identify historically valuable resources at 51 Pond Lane. Sincerely, Allison Manfred McGovern. All right, Resolution 1, resolve that the reading of the minutes for the special meeting June 11th and the public session of June 24th, 2014 be dispensed with, and those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and the actions taken at the meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. Have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the reading of the minutes for the organizational meeting July 7th, 2014 be dispensed with, and those minutes be accepted as filed by the village administrator, and the actions taken at that meeting be and hereby are ratified and approved. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved, the claims for the warrants dated July 10th, 2014, totaling $449.42. Warrant 3, general fund payables, $297,221.81. Warrant 4, general fund, $3,911.56 and $17,142.14. Warrants 3, trust fund, and $88,869.81. Warrant 2, capital reserve fund, and the village payrolls for the period from June 26, 2014 to July 10th, 2014 be ordered and approved. Have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second. Discussion. Item 171 Hill Street, August rent for the building inspector's office, $4,774. Absalom Cheyenne Auto Spa detailing 6 ambulance vehicles, $1,980. Alpine Software Red Alert annual support, $10,928.68. Anywhere Chair Company umbrellas for Cooper's Beach, $5,445. Barnwell House of Tires for the garage, $3,369.52. Bushing Enterprises active shooter training for the police department, $4,000. CSE employee benefit funds insurance premium for July, $22,894.20. Page 2, Capital Brothers transmission repair for the garbage truck, $4,897.06. Cast production services for June, $1,680.70. Cleaning of the Hamptons, floor cleaning, new floor at SCOA, $4,375. Cleary Consulting, consulting on Beach Plum subdivision, $1,800. Commissioner of Taxation and Finance, MTA tax for the second quarter, $9,956.32. Dell Computer, PD computers, $7,126. Page 4, EMT accounting services for June, $1,116.25. ESSC Inc. Medisafe narcotics safes for ambulance, $7,560. Firematic supply hoses and shutoffs for the fire department, $6,893.66. General Code Publishers Code Update, $1,694.77. Page 5, flowing on to page 7, Herrick Hardware Supplies for June, $1,787.75. Page 8, International Easy Up 2 canopies for the ambulance, $2,949.90. Island Tech Services Network Support Agreement, $9,107.70 for the fire department. Island Tech Services, again, laptops for the fire department, $5,044. Johnston Electrical Construction Traffic Signal Maintenance for June, $1,350. Long Island Laboratories Building Analysis for the ambulance barn, $1,045. Mayday Communications, $22,260. Annual Maintenance Service Agreements for the 911 System, $22,260. Messiano Consulting, June Grant Writing, $6,937.50. Morgan Auto Supply, June supplies flowing on to page 10, $1,751.45. Nextel Communications, June cell phone bill, $1,139.68. Norsec and Sons, carding for June, $5,395.92. Nymer McBride Insurance Settlement, $5,000. New York State Unemployment for the second quarter of 2014, $4,606.96. Office of State Controller, parking fines for May, $24,940.64. Page 12, PSE&G, June bill for building maintenance, $2,886.72. Page 13, R&R Athletic Apparel, Cooper's Uniforms, $4,059.45. Ronco Cleaning Supplies, $1,610.34 for building maintenance. RS Sales, Park Supplies, $1,077.75. Southampton Christmas Lights, Relamping Supplies, $1,965.25. Suburban Auto, repairs to the Fire Department Tahoe, $1,149.57. Suffolk County National Bank, bond payment, $52,588 on 2 bonds. Suffolk County Village Officials, 2014 dues, $1,250. Vince Toomey, legal fees for June, $1,716.76. Page 16, Will Florio, new floor over at SCOA, $10,124.38. The next warrant is the trust warrant. Stephen Maresca, Design and Engineering Services for the new dock at Agawam Lake, $3,000. Second trust warrant, awards and gifts, awards for the 4th of July parade, $1,872.80. And CoreLogic Real Estate Tax Services, a tax redemption, $14,706.80. The last warrant is the Capital Reserve warrant, Home Depot Credit Services, floor tiles for the Cooper Shower, $2,279.62. And John Deere Landscapes, payment for the beach tractor, $86,590.19. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the hiring of Charles Schneider as a dockmaster at the rate of $10 an hour and Julie Wolk as a ferry captain at the rate of $15 an hour for the Agawam Ferry. Have a motion?
Make that. Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's okay. No.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the mayor's reappointment of Kevin Guidera as a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals for a 5-year term expiring June 30th, that should say 2019. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
This was my errors and omission on the organization. I got him in as a chair, but I forgot to get him as a 5-year member, so
Okay.
it would help. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees approve the hiring of Brian Lamonaco Jr. as a traffic control officer at a rate of $16 an hour. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves the following payments from the Capital Reserve Fund, subject to permissive referendum. Home Depot Credit Services, $2,279.62 from the Beach Reserve. John Deere Landscapes, $86,590.19 from the Major Equipment Reserve. Have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Last one is resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the attached schedule of budget transfers to eliminate overages for the period June 25th, 2014 through July 10th, 2014 for the fiscal year ending May 31st, 2014. Have a motion?
That motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Item 1, $1,000 into clerk telephone from equipment. Item 2, $6,100 into building supplies, $6,500 into buildings utility, $500 in traffic control contractual, and $1,100 from traffic control electricity. Coming from trustee special projects, $14,200. Item 3, $5,200 to garage supplies, $500 into garage clothing, coming from garage contractual, $5,700. Next one is $7,500 in police miscellaneous from police personnel. Next item is $750 into fire telephone, $1,000 to fire contractual, with $1,750 coming from fire equipment. Next one is $900 into ambulance salaries coming from contractual. Next one is $13,800 into highway contractual, $900 into fuel, $600 into clothing, with $6,000 coming from highway supplies and $9,300 coming from park supplies. Next item is $5,500 into street lighting electric coming from street lighting supplies. Next item is $1,000 into contractual parks, and next parks clothing $1,000, with parks supplies $2,000 being deducted. Next item is $500 into Cooper's Beach contractual coming from Cooper's Materials. Next item is $500 to zoning contractual. ARB contractual $2,700 and $500 into Planning Commission contractuals, with $1,400 coming from Building Inspector miscellaneous and $2,300 from Trustees Special Projects. And the next item is employee benefits, Social Security $11,000, with $11,000 coming from employee benefits, hospital medical. And the last item is $1,000 into employee benefits, firefighters, coming from fire miscellaneous. All in favor?
Aye.
Discussion items. 3 actually related items, all for the chief. The Hampton Road, bike lane and U-turns.
Have the chief come up here, his
Yep.
initiative on these.
How are you? I think it would be, from a safety perspective, a good idea for us to add a couple of things to the code. One would be to prohibit bike riding from corner of Main Street up to Little Plains Road on Hampton Road. It's gotten, because of the diagonal parking, the road's gotten narrower, and we had one accident, which is, okay. I mean, not okay, but really think we need to do something to make that as unlikely as possible. Right. The other thing is there are people making U-turns there now that there's diagonal parking, and there's nothing in the code that allows us to prohibit them from doing that.
Okay.
So I think it would be a good idea for us to add into the code. I think it's Chapter 82 on the bicycles and Chapter 110 on the U-turns.
Okay.
We just have to add sections to the code not allowing it.
Right. So Rick,
Okay, could you make it easier for us by giving us something in writing with how you want the sections amended?
Yeah. Well, I wrote it out. Can I just read it to you, and we can
sure.
paraphrase it? It would
Okay.
amend Chapter 82, Article 1, Section 82-7, which is bicycles on streets. We would add subdivision 3, and it would say bicycling prohibited on Hampton Road from Main Street to Little Plains Road.
Okay.
if you want me to look at that, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to
Yeah,
see it in
right.
writing, so.
Little
Okay,
Plains to where,
there
Tom?
you go.
Huh?
Little Plains to where?
Main Street, Main
Main
Street.
Street.
Yeah.
And then the other one would be, I believe it's, I gave it to Rick, but it's 110, and I think it's the 11036, and it would just prohibit U-turns in the same location, Main Street to Little Plains Road.
How's that striped in there? I'm trying to think. That's a double line, isn't it?
Double line.
Which you can't.
But our TCOs can't
Yeah.
enforce the vehicle and traffic law, they can only enforce the village code.
Oh, okay, I got you.
And that exists on Main Street at this point, so they can enforce?
Yeah, yeah, we would just
Who
be adding,
wants to grab the village code for you?
It looks like he's got
Okay,
code next to it, so I just gotta take a
okay.
look at this if you. And the chapter, okay, it would be 82-7A. Okay, so it's A. Okay, there's one typo there which I'm correcting.
nobody's perfect.
That's why I wanted to see it. 7, section 110-36. Okay, do you want me to word something?
Yeah, let's do that, yeah.
Okay, first, resolve that Chapter 82, Article 1, Section 82-7A, capital A, be amended by adding item 3 to read as follows: on Hampton Road from Main Street to Little Plains Road.
Okay,
So let's do that one first.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then it would be a resolution to amend Chapter 110, Article 7, Section 110-36 by adding the following to the schedule. Under name of street, Hampton Road. Under location, from Main Street to Little Plains Road.
Have a motion?
Make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah, I'll keep this so that I
Okay.
can check the minutes
Yeah.
when they get typed up.
Okay, all right.
Will some signs go up telling people?
They went up already.
Great. Great. No, I was-
Thank you.
That's John B. The other thing was, I don't have the, I actually typed it out, but I left it on my desk, changing the parking down by the beach. Right now, if you park illegally in all the parking lots except for Agawam, which is controlled, like the fines are controlled by the town, it's a $100 fine. If you park on the street, across the street from Cooper's Beach, it's only a $55 fine.
Right,
I think we should amend that to be consistent and be $100. And the way the code is set up, there's a list of streets that are, it's worded that it's a lesser
Oh, the
fine
asterisk.
except for the roads that have an asterisk. And so we could just simply change, I guess it's 110-4, subdivision B2. And instead of it being $55, we just changed it to $100.
okay.
Want me to give this to Rick?
He has one.
Now, you've got that, he's got that in his
You want
book.
to do that too?
Yeah, let's do that too.
Resolve that section 110-4B, that's a capital B, 2 in paren, be amended by increasing the fine from $55 to $100. Did I get the right number?
Yep. We'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Okay, again, if you want to send me a draft of that part of the minutes, I'll check that as well.
And the last one was, I'm not sure if, I recall Rick saying he didn't believe we could do it, but I'm not sure, so he can answer. We want to be able to write under the village code for vehicles that are parked and have an expired inspection. And I'm not sure if we can do that, but we should, if we can legally do it, be able to do it. So Rick would have to answer that question.
Okay, again, you're asking me for something off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, it doesn't
I
have
have
to
a
be.
vague recollection that we talked about this a while ago,
And I think,
and I have a vague recollection of concluding that it was something that was not something that we could get into.
that's what you said. I'm not 100% sure, though. So it doesn't have to be done tonight, but
Right.
it's something that, if it's legal, we'd like to do it. If it's not legal for us to do it, we won't, obviously.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a note to check that again.
And that's it, because it was the only other thing we really have going on is, the code says that, like, when someone drives onto the beach without a village or town sticker, it says we can fine them up to $1,000, but it doesn't really say what the fine will be. And we originally thought that that was like a set number, but it's not a set number. So I guess we'll just have to talk to the court and find out what their
Right.
view on that is, and go from there.
Okay.
Because people are driving onto the village without the sticker and saying, write me a ticket, because I came out here for the day and I'm staying.
Right.
So we have to
Well,
make
I mean,
it something punitive enough for them to not want to say that.
Well, the issue is now that, the county shut down Smith Point
And Cupsog.
and Cupsquag and, I think part of Cupsquag and.
Yeah, the outer
cut it in
beach.
half.
Yeah, the outer beach at Smith Point as well.
Yeah, so it's, and then they lost space at the county park. And I know the last couple of Sundays, they've shut down probably about, they shut the county park down, Meadow Lane, down around by 10 o'clock.
Right.
And so people are flowing over onto the village side, and you're also going to all the other village beaches without stickers.
Right.
And it's a problem, and so our guys are down there doing enforcement, and they've been writing tickets, I know that, for people they've
Yep.
found, and remove people off the beach, so, but it's a,
Yeah, it's a problem.
it's a problem. It's kind of like the county shut down all this stuff, and then they're dumping it on the village of Southampton.
Yep.
So,
And,
but,
yeah, it's hard because I don't think they're really, I mean, I'm not sure, but it doesn't seem like the communication is ideal. Basically, letting people know that there's, it's really crowded and there's a
Right.
good chance they're not going to get a spot.
right.
And,
I did get a note from a resident in reference to like Dune Beach, that they went down to Dune Beach to try to find a spot, and it was filled up with people that didn't have stickers and stuff.
Right.
So, I don't
and,
know.
I mean, like right now, that was a $55 fine, and
Right,
48 Coopers.
yeah, so I don't think that, that was why we kind of had to increase it.
yeah,
Because,
yeah,
if you don't mind paying 40, you probably don't mind paying 55, but you might mind paying 100.
right,
I mean, that's a good starting point,
Yeah.
at least.
okay. And then, also, I know that we did some enforcement on Halsey Neck, and they did have, today, had some, residents on Halsey Neck who came to talk to me about speed on Halsey Neck and stuff, so, we did enforcement, I think, on the weekend, but, during the week, they were also talking about the contractors.
Right,
Going
yeah.
down there, so I know we're down there.
Yep.
Doing that stuff, so.
Yeah, Chris Wetter and Mike Horseman are spending time doing that stuff, and the other guys as well, but Sergeant Wetter and Officer Horseman are like kind of my traffic guys,
Right,
so They're definitely going to the hot spots.
Yeah, no, it's, that's what I had said. So, I mean, um, it's
It's a work in progress.
a work in progress, exactly, so, yeah.
All right, thank
All
you.
right, good. Thanks, Chief.
Okay, just before you leave, one quick follow-up question, because I was writing notes and trying not to forget what we'd already done. Tell me again what you'd like to do with the uninspected vehicles?
There's nothing, like, I'll give you an example. In the village code, if someone's speeding, there's a section of the village code as well as the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law that we can write speeding under. And when people are parked with an uninspected vehicle, that's a section of the Vehicle and Traffic Law, but it's not in the village code. So our TCOs, who do most of the parking enforcement, can't write that. And there's a lot of them. So we would like to be able to write that if we can.
Okay,
So
you're
we
talking
will-
about parking, on the public streets?
Public streets and public parking lots.
Okay, okay.
Great. Okay.
Next one is a walk-run, Flying Point Foundation for Autism on September 21st from 9 to 10:30. Roughly 120 participants. It's a 5K. The map in the back. Annual event.
Yeah, no, they do it every year. They start at Flying Point Beach and goes down, and a small part of it ends up through the village. So I can make a motion to authorize Flying Point Foundation for Autism to hold their 5K run on September 21st, 2014, in accordance with their application.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is, we were discussing items at our September Fest meeting yesterday, and what's been coming up is that we have a lot of different organizations that are doing different events. So an idea came up about putting together a centralized website, so let's say shvevents.com or something like that, that would have a link to the Historical Society, the Arts Center, chamber events, cultural center events. This way somebody can go to one site, and rather than going to 4 or 5 different sites to see what's happening this weekend,
Right.
they can just pick it off of one site.
Okay.
So I was talking to Julie about it. There is a web address available right now, shevevents.org or .net, or we could do VOS events. But I was just curious whether you'd be interested in putting something like that
I think it's
together.
a good idea. We've talked about this before and trying to centralize it. I mean, if we can do that on a website, I think
Yeah,
it'd be-
it wouldn't be that much money. It's just the
Yeah.
initial setup.
Yeah.
And then since you have a link to all the other
Right.
village
Right.
entertainment or cultural organizations, people can just,
Link in.
go where they want on what they're interested in. What would be ideal if we could do it is do a central calendar so that on Saturday the 28th, you got X, X, and Y going on from these different organizations. That will take a little more doing,
Right.
but it can be done. But initially, just the initial setup, I think, would be,
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I
okay.
do.
All right,
How
so
you
I'll
guys
get a
feel
list.
about
We
it?
have about 5 or 6 different
Okay.
sites that, will be a nice link
Yeah.
to do that, but I'll circulate a list for that.
I almost would want to limit it to just the village, because the Shinnecock Indian Net reservation with the museum
Yeah.
and the stuff that they do.
Mhm.
We can include them because they're part of our
Right.
master plan and.
Right. Okay.
Good.
All right,
Okay.
so I'll circulate some
Okay.
available names.
All right. Great. Okay, no further discussion and comments from board members. Trustee Yaz is not here. Trustee Irving?
Just a quick comment. I noticed in the paper that the DEC had noticed that Wickapog Pond is a big algae bloom. And I think all those kettle ponds that are along the shoreline here are a big concern to us to keep as clean as possible. And Nancy McGann had talked about checking on the sprays and stuff on the various lawns, and we certainly have a lot of nice lawns in the village. So I don't know how to really address those, but a lot of that algae blooms as a result of nitrogen loading, and I really think it's time that we take a close look at it. Cape Cod, similar, structure as far as beach and community and resort centers, had a major problem that not only reached their kettle ponds, but also a lot of their saltwater ponds. And we really need to take a look and avoid that before it happens here.
Well, you and Nancy jump on that. So,
Yeah,
I think it's a great project for you. You've got the knowledge level, and I know that like the lake. I know Lake Agawam was listed in there, but the Lake Agawam Conservation Association that did a lot of work trying to get property
they
owners
did.
to do
Yep.
buffers around there,
Yep.
education piece, and I think it's helped. We have circulators throughout. Maybe that's something we need to look at for these kettle ponds
Yep.
to see how we can get movement.
Yeah, we should, and we should take a look at setting up buffers around them, because a lot of them are getting more and more developed
Right.
every year. So.
Yeah. And between the lawns going all the way down to the ponds, and then the hedges going up, that reduces airflow
Yep.
and minimizes circulation there. I think we probably should take a very active look at it. So
Yeah, we should before
Yeah.
it gets
yeah,
out of hand.
and so no, it's there. You go.
Well, track Nancy down.
yeah. Right now, I think it'd
She
be.
just volunteered.
Go away for the summer?
I heard it.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Yeah,
Anything else there? That's it.
that's it.
Bill?
Nothing really. I'm glad to see the boys out painting the lines and all that sort of thing, although I'm mad at myself for not getting them to do it in May and so on. And it's a little easier. God, they really have to dislocate traffic patterns to
Yeah.
the intersection of Hill Street and
Yeah. No, they've.
Windmill Lane and all that sort of thing. But next year I will get after them a little earlier. But anyhow,
Okay.
I have a thing about lines that have, and it was a bad winter, with
I
all
know.
this, the grit that got on the
Yeah.
roads, and I think that the lines really took a beating this year. But anyhow,
Makes
it's a minor,
everything look a lot better.
it
They
sure
were
does.
crisp.
Yeah, it's a world-class community, and we should look at.
Oh, I know. So,
That's all.
but, I just want to say that our guys have just been doing a great job. I think the highway guys and the parks department, and the way these guys are, and even Central Garage. We had supervisors meeting on Tuesday, right?
Tuesday.
They were just talking about the volume of work and keep everything going, and these guys are they're doing such a great job, and the police department's been very active and highly visible, and it's been a very active summer so far, and it's just
Really?
I know,
Still early.
a week and a half in July, and it's and they've done and it's going to continue to be active throughout the summertime. I feel very strongly about that, and I do want to congratulate the parade committee and for a successful parade, and we held it even though it rained from before 9:15 in the morning, and it stopped. It started raining again right at 12. So they gave us about an hour and 2.5 hours of reprieve from downpour. Allowed us to march in the parade, and the individuals who showed up, which was quite a few. I thank them for their participation, and thank the judges and our Grand Marshal, who was Peter Larson, who's retiring at the end of this summer. It was very appropriate tribute for a man who's been a significant member of this community for such a long period of time, and he will be missed. So, with that being said, I want to make a second public comment time. All right, nobody from the public here. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussion personnel matters involving legal and personnel issues.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.